Ladies and gentlemen, there is a deep hunger in the hearts of people today. A hunger for peace, a hunger for security, a hunger for something greater than what this world has to offer. People search for peace in money, in relationships, in success, and yet time and time again they come up empty. You see, my friends, the world cannot give you the peace your soul is longing for. True peace does not come from circumstances. It does not come from wealth. And it does not come from the temporary pleasures of life. True peace, lasting peace, comes only from faith in God. Some of you may be struggling right now. You turn on the news and all you see is chaos. You look at your life and all you feel is anxiety. You lay your head on the pillow at night, but your mind won't rest. Worry, fear, doubt, they weigh on you like a heavy burden. But I have good news for you today. There is a peace that passes all understanding. There is a peace that no storm can shake, no trial can destroy, and no enemy can steal, and that peace is found in God alone. The Bible tells us you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. Isaiah 26:03. Did you hear that? Perfect peace, not just a little bit of peace, not just peace when things are going well, but perfect, unshakable, everlasting peace. Some of you have been searching for peace in all the wrong places. You've been trying to fix things on your own. You've been relying on your own strength. But God is saying to you today, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. When you put your faith in God, when you surrender your life to Him, He takes your burdens and gives you His peace in return. The kind of peace that carried men and women through the darkest valleys of life. The kind of peace that gives strength when the world seems to be falling apart. So I ask you today, where is your faith? Is it in the things of this world, or is it in the one who holds the world in His hands? Because when you put your trust in God, you don't have to fear the future. You don't have to be controlled by anxiety. You don't have to live in doubt. You can have the peace of God in your heart today. It is available to you right now. All you have to do is reach out in faith, surrender your heart to Him, and let Him fill you with His peace. And I promise you, when you do, you will never be the same. True peace is something every person longs for, yet so many struggle to find it. In a world filled with uncertainty, fear, and constant change, people search for peace in all the wrong places. Some look for it in money, believing that financial security will give them rest. Others seek it in relationships, hoping that love from another person will complete them. Some chase after success, thinking that if they achieve enough, they will finally feel at peace. But no matter how much they gain, no matter how much they accomplish, the deep void in their hearts remains. This is because true peace does not come from the things of this world, does not come from wealth, power, or fame. It does not come from having all of life's problems solved. It comes from something greater, something unshakable, something eternal. It comes only from God. People try to manufacture peace in their own strength. They practice mindfulness, they read self-help books, they go on vacations, they surround themselves with beautiful things, yet the moment something goes wrong, the peace they thought they had is gone. A financial crisis arises and suddenly fear grips them. A relationship falls apart and their hearts are filled with turmoil. The unexpected happens and their sense of peace disappears like a vapor in the wind. This is because the peace that the world offers is temporary. It is fragile. It depends on circumstances being just right, and the moment those circumstances change, so does the peace. But the peace that comes from God is different. It is not dependent on circumstances. It is not shaken by hardship. It does not fade when life gets difficult. It is a peace that remains even in the midst of the storm. God's peace is not something we can create for ourselves. It is something He gives to those who trust in Him. It is not found in striving or achieving. It is not found in trying to control every aspect of life. It is found in surrender. When a person places their faith in God, when they acknowledge that He is in control, when they choose to rest in His promises, they receive a peace that goes beyond human understanding. The Bible speaks of this peace over and over again. It tells us that God will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in Him. It tells us not to be anxious about anything, but in everything through prayer and supplication to make our requests known to God, and His peace, which surpasses all understanding, will guard our hearts and minds. It tells us that Jesus Himself said, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you." This is not an empty promise. It is not a wishful thought. It is a reality that has been experienced by countless people throughout history. It is the peace that allowed Daniel to sleep in a den of lions. It is the peace that kept Paul and Silas singing hymns in prison. It is the peace that sustained men and women who faced persecution, hardships, and even death, yet never wavered in their faith. The reason this peace is so powerful is because it is rooted in something eternal. It is not based on the temporary things of this world. Soul, there is a firm foundation that cannot be shaken. There is a confidence that nothing in this world can destroy. Many people miss out on this peace because they are too busy trying to handle everything on their own. They carry the weight of their worries. They try to fix every problem. They hold on to control with clenched fists. And in doing so, they rob themselves of the peace that God freely offers. But the moment a person chooses to trust in God, the moment they release their grip on the things they cannot control, the moment they place their faith in His goodness, they begin to experience a peace unlike anything they have ever known. This peace is not a vague feeling. It is not a temporary relief. It is a deep, abiding sense of rest that remains even in the most difficult circumstances. It is the quiet assurance that no matter what happens, God is still working, God is still present, and God is still faithful. It is the kind of peace that allows a person to walk through the storms of life with unwavering confidence, knowing that they are never alone. So many people today are searching for peace in everything but God. They turn to entertainment to distract them from their worries. They turn to substances to numb their fears. They turn to success to give them a sense of worth. But none of these things can provide the peace that their souls truly need. None of these things can fill the emptiness inside. None of these things can satisfy the deepest longings of the human heart. The truth is, we were created to find our peace in God alone. Our hearts were designed to rest in Him. When we try to find peace apart from Him, we will always come up empty. But when we place our faith in Him, when we lean on Him, when we trust in His love and His faithfulness, we find a peace that nothing in this world can take away. This peace is not just for a select few. It is not just for those who have everything figured out. It is not just for those who have lived perfect lives. It is for anyone who is willing to put their trust in God. It is for the broken, the weary, the anxious, the fearful. It is for the person who feels like they are at the end of their rope. It is for the one who has tried everything else and still feels empty inside. This peace is available to all who seek it. It is available to all who come to God in faith. It is available to all who are willing to let go of their fears and trust in His perfect plan. Because true peace, real, lasting, unshakable peace, comes only from Him. Fear and anxiety are some of the most powerful forces that grip the human heart. They creep into our minds in the middle of the night. They fill our hearts with doubt. They steal our joy, and they rob us of the life we were meant to live. Fear whispers that we are not safe. Anxiety tells us that we must figure everything out on our own. The weight of worry can feel unbearable, pressing down like a heavy burden that never lifts. People try to suppress their fears. They try to drown out their anxieties with distractions, but no matter what they do, those feelings return again and again. Some people live in constant fear of the future. They wonder what tomorrow will bring. They worry about their finances, their health, their loved ones. They play out worst-case scenarios in their minds, unable to find rest. Others live in fear of failure, afraid they will never measure up, that they will never be good enough. Some fear rejection, so they hide their true selves, afraid to let others see who they really are. Anxiety takes hold of the mind and heart, making even small problems seem overwhelming, causing sleepless nights, restless days, and an inability to truly enjoy life. Fear is a thief. It steals peace, it steals joy, it steals the ability to trust. Anxiety is like a prison, keeping people trapped in their own thoughts, unable to break free. But there is an answer. There is a way to overcome fear, to silence anxiety, to walk in confidence and peace no matter what comes. That way is through faith in God. Faith is the antidote to fear. It is the key that unlocks the chains of anxiety. It is the light that drives out the darkness of worry. When a person truly places their trust in God, fear loses its power and anxiety begins to fade. God did not create us to live in fear. He did not intend for us to carry the burdens of worry and anxiety on our own. He calls us to trust Him, to rely on Him, to let go of fear and walk in faith. Over and over again, the Bible tells us, do not fear. It is one of the most repeated commands in Scripture, not because fear is uncommon, but because God knows how easily we fall into it. He knows how quickly we let worry take over. But He does not leave us without a solution. He tells us that when we put our faith in Him, we do not have to be afraid. Faith is not just believing that God exists. It is trusting that He is in control. It is believing that He is bigger than any problem, greater than any fear, stronger than any anxiety. Faith says, I don't have to know all the answers because I know the one who does. Faith says, I don't have to be afraid of tomorrow because I know God holds my future in His hands. Faith says, even if I don't understand what's happening, I trust that God is working all things together for my good. When fear comes, faith reminds us that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. When anxiety creeps in, faith reminds us that we can cast all our cares on Him because He cares for us. When worry threatens to overwhelm us, faith reminds us that we are not alone, that God walks with us, that He will never leave us or forsake us. Some people think that overcoming fear means never feeling afraid again, but that is not true. Fear will always try to rise up. Anxiety will always try to creep back in. But faith is the choice to trust God despite those feelings. It is the decision to say, I will not let fear control me. I will not let anxiety dictate my life. I will stand on the promises of God and walk forward in faith. Faith is not about having everything figured out. It is not about having a perfect life with no problem. It is about knowing that no matter what comes, God is with you. It is about knowing that even when things don't go the way you planned, God is still in control. It is about releasing the need to have all the answers and trusting in the one who does. The greatest enemy of fear is trust. When a person fully trusts God, fear loses its grip. When a person truly believes that God is for them, anxiety begins to fade. Trusting God does not mean ignoring problems. It means surrendering them to Him. It means saying, God, I can't do this on my own, but I know you can. It means releasing the burden of trying to control everything and allowing Him to take over. One of the most powerful things about faith is that it changes perspective. Fear looks at the problem and says, this is too big. Faith looks at God and says nothing is impossible for Him. Anxiety focuses on everything that could go wrong. Faith focuses on the one who holds all things together. Fear causes hesitation, keeping people stuck in worry and doubt. Faith gives confidence, allowing people to step forward even when they don't have all the answers. When faith replaces fear, everything changes. Decisions are no longer made based on worry, but on trust. Life is no longer lived in the shadows of anxiety, but in the light of peace. Instead of being paralyzed by what might happen, there is freedom to move forward, knowing that whatever comes, God is in control. People who live by faith walk in a peace that the world cannot understand. It does not mean they never face difficulties, but it means that difficulties do not shake them. It does not mean they never experience hardship, but it means that hardship does not steal their joy. It does not mean they never have moments of doubt, but it means that even in doubt they choose to trust. Faith is a choice. It is a daily decision to trust God, to surrender control, to believe that He is greater than any fear, stronger than any worry, and more faithful than any circumstance. It is not about pretending that everything is perfect, but about knowing that no matter what happens, God is still in control. It is about standing firm even when life feels uncertain. It is about resting in His promises even when things don't make sense. People who walk by faith are not bound by fear. They are not consumed by anxiety. They are not weighed down by worry. They know that they do not have to carry their burdens alone. They know that they have a God who loves them, who cares for them, who fights for them. They know that no matter what they face, they can stand firm because their faith is not in themselves, but in the one who holds all things in His hands. There is nothing more freeing than trusting in God. There is nothing more powerful than choosing faith over fear. There is nothing more life-changing than releasing the burden of anxiety and walking in the confidence that comes from knowing God is in control. Faith is not just a belief, it is a way of life. It is the key to overcoming fear. It is the path to true and lasting peace. It is the foundation that allows a person to stand firm no matter what comes their way. Peace is something that many people long for, but few truly experience. The world is filled with chaos, uncertainty, and turmoil, and people spend their lives searching for something that will give them a sense of calm and stability. Some believe they will find peace in success. thinking that if they work hard enough and achieve enough, they will finally feel at ease. Others believe that peace comes from relationships, seeking comfort in human connections, hoping that another person will fill the emptiness inside. Many chase after material wealth, believing that if they have enough money, they will finally be free from worry. But no matter how much they accomplish, no matter how many people they surround themselves with, no matter how much wealth they accumulate, true peace continues to elude them. The peace that the world offers is temporary and fragile. It is dependent on circumstances. And the moment those circumstances change, the peace disappears. A person might feel at peace when their bank account is full. But what happens when financial troubles arise? They might feel at peace when their health is strong. But what happens when sickness comes? They might feel at peace when relationships are going well. But what happens when conflicts arise or people walk away? The peace of the world is like a house built on sand, unstable, easily shaken, and unable to withstand the storms of life. True peace, lasting peace, unshakable peace does not come from the things of this world. It is not found in money, success, relationships, or achievements. It comes from something greater, something eternal, something that cannot be taken away. It comes from God alone. His peace is different from anything the world can offer. It is not dependent on circumstances. It does not waver in the face of trouble. It does not disappear when life becomes difficult. It remains firm and unshaken, even in the midst of life's greatest storm. The peace that God gives is a supernatural peace, one that surpasses all understanding. It is a peace that does not make sense to the world because it exists even in situations where peace should be impossible. It is the kind of peace that allows a person to walk through suffering without being consumed by despair. It is the kind of peace that enables someone to face uncertainty without fear. It is the kind of peace that strengthens a person in the midst of trials, giving them the confidence to trust in God's plan even when they do not understand it. This peace is not something that can be earned or achieved through human effort. It is not something that comes from positive thinking or from ignoring problems. It is a gift from God, given freely to those who put their trust in Him. When a person surrenders their worries and anxieties to God, when they choose to trust in His goodness and faithfulness, His peace fills their heart and mind, guarding them against fear and doubt. It is a peace that brings rest to the soul, a peace that quiets the restless heart, a peace that gives strength in times of weakness. God's peace is not just for times of comfort and ease. It is for the difficult moments, the painful seasons, the times when life feels overwhelming. It is the peace that carried Daniel in the lion's den, the peace that sustained Paul and Silas as they sang praises in prison, the peace that gave strength to men and women who faced persecution, hardship, and even death. It is the same peace that is available today to those who trust in God. A peace that remains unshaken no matter what happens. This peace does not mean that there will never be troubles. It does not mean that life will always be easy. It does not mean that pain and suffering will never come, but it does mean that no matter what happens, there is a firm foundation to stand on. It means that there is a strength that carries a person through every storm. It means that there is an unshakable confidence that nothing in this world can destroy. One of the greatest struggles people face is the battle within their own minds. Worry, fear, and anxiety creep in, filling their thoughts with doubt and uncertainty. The mind races with what-ifs, replaying past mistakes, fearing the unknown, and creating problems that may never even happen. But the peace of God guards the mind like a fortress. It protects against the attacks of fear and anxiety. It replaces the noise of worry with the stillness of trust. It calms the restless heart and quiets the anxious soul. Many people try to control everything in their lives because they believe that control will give them peace. They think that if they can just manage every detail, if they can plan for every possibility, if they can ensure that nothing goes wrong, then they will finally feel at ease. But control is an illusion. No one can predict the future. No one can prevent every difficulty. No one can make life go exactly as they want. And the more a person tries to control, the more anxiety they experience because they realize that so much is beyond their grasp. God's peace comes not from control, but from surrender. It comes from letting go of the need to figure everything out and trusting that He is in control. It comes from releasing the burden of worry and placing it in His hands. It comes from believing that He is good, that His plans are perfect, and that He will take care of His people. It is in surrender that true peace is found, not in holding on, but in letting go. This peace is not just for the future. It is available now. It is not just for special moments. It is for everyday life. It is not just for certain people. It is for all who choose to trust in God. It is for the one who is weighed down by anxiety, for the one who is overwhelmed by life struggles, for the one who is tired of trying to carry everything on their own. It is for those who are weary and burdened, for those who long for rest, for those who are searching for something more. The world will always be filled with trouble. There will always be reasons to worry, reasons to fear, reasons to feel uncertain. But those who trust in God do not have to be shaken by these things. They do not have to live in a constant state of anxiety. They do not have to be consumed by the worries of this life. They can stand firm, knowing that their peace is not dependent on what happens around them, but on the one who holds all things in his hands. There is nothing like the peace of God. It is a peace that is restless. The mind is filled with doubt and the soul is constantly searching for something to hold on to. People try to find security in many things: money, success, relationships, knowledge. But none of these things can provide true, lasting peace. They may bring a temporary sense of stability, but when difficulties come, they crumble. The storms of life have a way of revealing what a person's trust is truly built upon. When faith is placed in anything other than God, fear and anxiety will always find a way in. But when faith is firmly rooted in God, there is a peace that cannot be shaken, no matter what happens. Faith is not just an abstract idea or a religious concept. It is a deep personal trust in the one who created all things and holds all things together. It is the confidence that God is who he says he is, that he will do what he has promised, and that he is in control even when life feels uncertain. Faith does not mean ignoring reality or pretending that difficulties do not exist. It means looking at the reality of a situation and choosing to trust God in the midst of it. It means believing that he is greater than any problem, stronger than any obstacle, and faithful in every circumstance. There is a battle that takes place in the heart and mind every day, a battle between faith and fear, trust and doubt, belief and uncertainty. The world constantly tries to plant seeds of fear, whispering that things will never work out, the trouble is just around the corner, that there is no hope. But faith stands against fear, refusing to be controlled by worry or anxiety. Faith is the shield that protects against the lies of the enemy, reminding the heart that God is in control, that he is working all things together for good, and that nothing is beyond his power. Some people struggle with faith because they feel that they need to have all the answers before they can fully trust God. They want to see every step of the journey, to understand every detail of the plan, to have guarantees before they take a step forward. But faith does not require knowing everything. It requires trusting in the one who does. It means stepping out even when the path is unclear, believing that God will provide exactly what is needed at the right time. It means surrendering the need to control and choosing to rely on his wisdom instead of human understanding. Faith is not passive, it is active. It is not just something a person claims to have. It is something that is lived out every day. It is seen in the choices made, the way challenges are faced, and the way trust is placed in God instead of in temporary things. Faith does not wait for everything to be perfect before believing. It believes even in the midst of uncertainty. It does not require easy circumstances to remain strong. It remains steadfast even in the face of trials. Faith is the anchor that keeps the soul secure when everything else seems to be shifting. One of the greatest challenges to faith is the temptation to rely on human strength rather than on God. It is easy to trust in abilities, in plans, in the security of a job or financial stability, but all of these things can change in an instant. A successful career can be lost. Wealth can disappear. Plans can fall apart. If faith is built on these things, then when they are shaken, peace is lost along with them. But when faith is built on God, there is a security that cannot be taken away. No matter what happens, no matter what changes, he remains the same. Faith does not mean that there will never be struggles or that life will always go as expected. There will be moments of difficulty, times of testing, seasons of uncertainty, but these are the moments when faith is strengthened the most. It is in the times of trial that trust in God is deepened, that reliance on him grows stronger, that his faithfulness is proven again and again. Faith does not remove challenges. It gives the strength to walk through them with confidence. It does not eliminate hardship. It provides the assurance that God is present in the midst of it. One of the most powerful examples of faith is seen in those who continue to trust in God, even when they do not understand his plan. When prayers seem unanswered, when life takes an unexpected turn, when everything feels uncertain, faith holds firm. It says, "I do not know what is ahead, but I know the one who does. I do not understand why this is happening, but I trust that God's ways are higher than my own. Faith refuses to let doubt take control. It refuses to give in to fear. It stands on the promises of God even when circumstances seem to say otherwise. Faith is also the key to overcoming worry. Worry is the result of trying to carry burdens alone, of attempting to solve problems without relying on God. It is the belief that everything depends on human effort, that the outcome of every situation rests on personal ability. But faith lifts the weight of worry by shifting the focus from personal limitations to God's unlimited power. It replaces anxiety with confidence, knowing that God is in control. It silences fear by resting in the truth that He is always working behind the scenes, even when it cannot be seen. Faith changes the way challenges are viewed. Instead of seeing difficulties as obstacles, faith sees them as opportunities for growth. Instead of viewing trials as setbacks, faith recognizes them as moments where trust in God is deepened. Instead of being overwhelmed by problems, faith sees them as moments where God's power can be displayed. Faith does not eliminate struggles, but it transforms the way they are faced. It brings peace in the midst of uncertainty, strength in the face of weakness, and confidence even when the future is unknown. Some people hesitate to trust God fully because they fear what might happen if they let go of control. They worry that if they surrender their plans to Him, things will not go the way they want. But true faith means believing that God's plan is greater than anything that could be imagined. It means knowing that His ways are higher, His thoughts are wiser, and His timing is always perfect. It means recognizing that He sees the full picture while human understanding is limited. Trusting God completely does not lead to disappointment. It leads to a life of peace, joy, and fulfillment. Faith is a daily decision. It is not just something that is needed in moments of crisis. It is something that must be lived out every single day. It is seen in the way choices are made, in the way difficulties are handled, in the way trust is placed in God rather than in temporary things. It is choosing to believe even when circumstances are uncertain, to trust even when the path is unclear, to rely on God even when doubt tries to creep in. When faith is strong, fear loses its grip. When faith is unshakable, anxiety begins to fade. When faith is placed in God alone, there is a peace that the world cannot give and that nothing can take away. Faith does not mean having all the answers. It means trusting in the one who does. It is not about seeing the full path ahead. It is about taking the next step, knowing that God will guide the way. It is not about having a life free from difficulty. It is about having a foundation that remains firm no matter what comes. Faith is not just a belief, it is a way of life. It is the foundation upon which true peace is built. It is the key to overcoming fear, the answer to worry, the source of confidence in the midst of uncertainty. It is the anchor that holds firm in every storm, the strength that carries through every trial, the light that shines in the darkest moments. It is the assurance that no matter what happens, God is in control and He is always faithful. Hope is the light that guides the soul through the darkest valleys. Without hope, life feels heavy, burdens seem unbearable, and the future appears uncertain. Many people go through life carrying the weight of despair, unable to see past their present struggles. They feel trapped by their circumstances, believing that things will never change. The burdens of failure, disappointment, and pain can make hope seem like a distant dream, something that belongs to others, but not to them. But hope is not just for the fortunate or the strong. It is not something that depends on circumstances. It is not based on fleeting emotions or temporary situations. True hope is unshakable, immovable, and available to all who place their trust in God. This kind of hope is not the same as wishful thinking. It is not a vague desire for things to get better or a desperate attempt to stay positive. It is a confident expectation, a deep assurance that God is at work even when things seem uncertain. It is knowing that no matter how difficult the present moment may be, the future is in His hands. It is understanding that trials and hardships do not have the final word. It is the certainty that God's promises are true, that His plans are good, and that His love never fails. Hope is what sustains a person in the midst of suffering. It is what strengthens the heart when everything else seems to be falling apart. It is what allows someone to keep going when they feel like giving up. Without hope, people become weary, overwhelmed by the pressures of life. They begin to believe that their struggles are permanent, that their pain will never end, that there is no way forward. But when hope is placed in God, there is always a reason to keep moving forward. There is always the assurance that He is working behind the scenes, that He is making a way even when it cannot yet be seen. One of the greatest challenges to hope is the tendency to focus on what is seen rather than on what is unseen. When a person looks only at their current circumstances, it is easy to become discouraged. Problems seem bigger than they are. Difficulties appear impossible to overcome, and the future looks bleak. But hope shifts the focus away from what is temporary and toward what is eternal. It lifts the eyes above the present struggles and reminds the heart that God's plan is greater than anything that can be seen or understood in the moment. The world offers many temporary sources of hope: success, relationships, financial stability, achievements. These things can bring a momentary sense of security, but they are not lasting. They can change in an instant. A successful career can be lost, relationships can falter, finances can disappear. If hope is built on these things, it is fragile, easily shaken, and quickly destroyed when circumstances change. But the hope that comes from God is not based on temporary things. It is built on the unchanging truth of His promises. It remains firm even when everything else is shifting. It cannot be taken away no matter what happens. Hope does not ignore reality. It faces reality with confidence. It does not deny the existence of struggles. It looks at struggles and declares that they will not have the final say. Hope does not pretend that life will always be easy. It trusts that even in the midst of difficulties, God is still in control. It is not blind optimism or naive positivity. It is the deep assurance that no matter what happens, God's purpose will prevail. There are times when hope is tested. There are moments when life feels overwhelming, when prayers seem unanswered, when the road ahead appears uncertain. In those moments, doubt tries to creep in. Fear whispers that things will never change. Worry tells the heart that God has forgotten. But hope holds firm. It refuses to give in to fear. It stands against the lies of the enemy. It clings to the truth that God is always working, even when it cannot yet be seen. It reminds the soul that He has never failed before and He will not fail now. Hope is what gives strength to the weary. It is what allows someone to keep pressing forward even when the journey is difficult. It is what gives courage to face the unknown, to trust in God's plan even when it does not make sense. It is what keeps the heart anchored when the storms of life try to shake it. Hope is not something that must be manufactured or forced. It is something that comes naturally when trust is placed in God. It flows from the understanding that He is faithful, that He is good, that He never abandons those who seek Him. One of the greatest sources of hope is remembering what God has already done. Looking back on His past faithfulness strengthens the heart for the present and gives confidence for the future. Every answered prayer, every moment of provision, every time He made a way when there seemed to be none. These are reminders that He is still working today. When doubts arise, when fear tries to take hold, remembering His faithfulness renews hope and strengthens trust. It is the assurance that if He has been faithful before, He will be faithful again. Hope is also strengthened in times of waiting. Waiting is one of the most difficult things to endure, especially when answers seem delayed and nothing appears to be changing. It is in the waiting that doubt often grows the loudest. But hope remains steadfast, trusting that God's timing is perfect. It refuses to rush ahead, knowing that His plans are worth waiting for. It does not give in to frustration because it understands that God is never late. It rests in the truth that even when waiting feels difficult, He is using the time to prepare, to shape, to refine, to bring about something greater than could ever be imagined. Hope is what keeps joy alive in the heart, even in difficult seasons. It is what allows someone to smile in the face of adversity, to find strength even in moments of weakness. It is what enables a person to praise God even when they do not yet see the answer. Hope does not wait until the storm has passed to rejoice. It finds joy even in the middle of the storm. It knows that victory is coming, that the story is not over, that the best is yet to come. Many people live their lives weighed down by regrets, mistakes, and past failures. They believe that their past has disqualified them from a future filled with hope. They feel that they have messed up too much, that they have gone too far, that they are beyond redemption. But hope declares that no mistake is too great for God's grace. It proclaims that no failure is final, that no past is beyond His ability to restore. Hope reminds the heart that He is a God of new beginnings, of second chances, of redemption and renewal. It tells the soul that nothing is ever truly lost when placed in His hands. Hope is a gift that is meant to be shared. The world is filled with people who are struggling, who feel lost, who have lost sight of the future. There are those who feel as though they have no reason to keep going, who believe that their situation is hopeless. But just as hope is found in God, it is meant to be shared with others. A word of encouragement, a reminder of God's faithfulness, a testimony of His goodness. These things have the power to reignite hope in the hearts of those who are weary Hope is not weak. It is powerful. It does not waver in the face of difficulties. It grows stronger. It does not fade in times of trouble. It shines brighter. It does not retreat in the presence of fear. It stands firm. True hope is not based on what is seen, but on what is eternal. It is rooted in the promises of God, anchored in His truth, and sustained by His love. It gives strength in times of weakness, courage in times of uncertainty, and peace in the midst of every storm. It is the light that guides the way, the confidence that sustains the soul, the assurance that no matter what happens, God is faithful.